There's talk of them suing San Esteban for $27 million. There's talk of $1 million per miner. How much do you think they'll get?
I don't know. That will have to be decided by the judiciary power. But what I can tell you is that we did, from the very first moment, whatever was possible. We didn't lose a moment. I was in Ecuador when I knew of this accident. Immediately, when we realized how serious it was, I asked our Secretary of State of Mining, which was with me, to come back immediately. And many people to go to the mine immediately. And we started our search and rescue effort, not 1 week after, that same night. And we kept working, united with faith and using all the resources. I called many friendly governments, including the UK and the US and Canada, to ask for help. And at the end of the day, the help was very useful. But let me tell you something. The technology, the Phoenix capsule was Chilean technology. It was built by Chilean engineers, and it was extremely successful.
You have been praised for being so hands-on, but you know that you have also been criticised by those who say, look, you're allying yourself to something that has proved successful. You are a very visible presence there because it works for you politically.
Sarah, that's not true. I committed myself and I visited the mine 4 times before we even knew whether they were alive or dead. So that criticism is not fair.
It goes to something that people have said about you and the way that your style of government, which is that it is you've been described as neo-populist, personalismo, that ever since you've taken power, and this is, some would say this is a good thing, some would say there's a bit of caution attached to this, that your style at the head of a coalition government is very much about Pinera himself. And you could argue that perhaps it needs to be. But do you recognize that charge?
Well, I'm a man that takes challenges and commitment with passion. That has been the history of my life. And I won't change now. But of course, this was a country effort. It was not a government effort. It was the whole country was committed with this. And I would like to thank so many people. I don't have the time here, but there were thousands of people that really did their best.
Sure, but this is not just, there are other decisions you have made, whether it was in response to the earthquake or blocking a thermal power plant near an ecological reserve. Your style of government, Andres Alamand is a senator, he's one of your campaign advisors, said there's a touch of self-absorption about the president. There are people who find it easier to order about and others who find it easier to delegate. President Pinera is somebody who finds it easier to order than delegate.
I would say that that's not true. The only way to achieve goals in your life is with teamwork, with delegation. Now, I don't delegate and then forget. No, I delegate and I'm concerned and committed and have to be on top of the issues. That's my style. But I was elected that way, and I think that the real leader has to be hands-on, committed, with passion. And that's the way of life.
But one of the criticisms is that you were elected, but you were elected as part of a coalition. And Pablo Longuera, who's a senator from the UDI, he's been a critic of yours, but he's one of your supporters. And he says one of the problems is that an excess of personalism undermines the institutional project. So what you have is, he says, I don't hear anybody talking about the alliance, our government. It makes staying on in government much more complicated, so that you may have a good 4 years, but you won't then be re-elected after that.
I disagree with that. Let me tell you something, Sarah. You are reading what Pablo Longuera said. Immediately after those words, 10 major leaders of our coalition disagreed with him. So, at the end of the day, people have freedom to think and to express their views. Okay. And I respect that. But I think that in a country like Chile, if you are elected president, you are there to exert your leadership. Not just to sit down and see how others do things. You have to be on top of the issues. And that's my style, and I will not change it.
You talk about Chile, about the next century being a Latin American century. And you campaigned on this idea of eradicating poverty, eradicating extreme poverty by 2014 and poverty by 2018, which is a problem in all Latin American countries. Since you've been elected, as you point out, you had the earthquake, you've had the Chilean miners' disaster. Has it Can you achieve that ambition of eradicating poverty?
Yes. I think it's a very ambitious goal, but a very feasible one. And it's more than that. We are working in order to achieve some very ambitious goals before the end of this decade, Sarah. I hope, and we will work for that Chile will be able to defeat poverty, to defeat underdevelopment, and create a society of opportunities for all and social justice for all. That's my dream. That's the only reason why I have spent the last 20 years in public service. I know that in private life you can have not a better life, but a more comfortable life. But in public service is where you really can get the best out of you.
It's interesting because you had a very comfortable private life. You were, what, the 4th richest man in Chile. Your wealth estimated at $1.2 billion. You introduced credit cards to Chile. And then now you are seen as this a man of the right who has in many ways been bolder in terms of what he's done than the centre-left government was going to do.
You know that right and left came from the French Revolution. At the left side were those that wanted to cut the head of the king. At the right side, those that wanted to restore the king in its throne.
Yes, but
I can guarantee you, Sarah, I don't want to cut anybody's head, and I don't want to restore any king in its throne.
But it matters in Chile because of the history of the country with the dictatorship and General Pinochet.
Look, you know that I always opposed the dictatorship, even though they did some very, very significant reforms because of human rights and because we think that we are bound to live in freedom and democracy is a natural way of life for our people. But let me tell you something. The leftists, many times they think that the only one that are worried about poverty and social equality. That's not true. If I have devoted the best 20 years of my life committing my whole family to this, it's because we want to be the government that really was successful at defeating poverty, at reducing inequalities, at defeating underdevelopment. And that's very progressive.
And in terms of the way you go about that, has what has happened in the last couple of months with the mine, has it changed you?
Yes. I think it has changed everybody in Chile.
How has it changed you?
When you have to go through such an emotional experience that started as a tragedy and ended so successfully, you change. Now I'm much more committed with the goals of our government program, and I'm much more convinced that we can achieve that. I think that the lessons from Chile is when a country works united, with faith, using the best possible tools, technology, science, but at the same time putting together the best possible teams of people, because at the end of the day, it was people that made the difference. So I'm very, very confident that we will accomplish our other goals, defeat poverty, development.
President Sebastián Pinera, thank you for coming on Hardtalk.
Thank you very much.
President, what happens now is that you and